Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a high dive, toes curled over rough concrete. The pool below glitters impossibly far away. Your muscles lock, your breath vanishes. A voice in your head whispers, "What if you slip? What if you hit the water wrong? What if—" But here's the truth no one admits. It's not the jump that terrifies you. It's the moment after, the free fall, the surrender. The heartbeat is where control evaporates. That's the real fear. Not pain, not failure, but the loss of certainty. And this isn't just about diving boards. It's about every decision you've ever hesitated over, the text you didn't send, the job you didn't take, the truth you didn't speak. Your life is a catalog of almost and not yets. Not because you lack courage, but because fear has hijacked your choices before you even make them. The paradox of safe decisions. Consider this contradiction. The average person makes 35,000 decisions daily, yet remembers only the ones laced with fear. Why? Because fear doesn't just influence decisions, it replaces them. Neuroscience reveals that when fear activates, your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision maker, gets hijacked by the amygdala, the primal alarm system. The result? You don't choose avoidance, you default to it. Like a puppet with invisible strings, you mistake the tug of fear for your own voice. Ask yourself how many practical choices were really fear in disguise. When did "I'm not ready yet" become a life sentence? What if your instincts aren't protecting you but imprisoning you? The illusion of control. Fear's greatest trick? Convincing you it's keeping you safe. Watch how it operates. 1. The bait. Fear dangles worst-case scenarios like horror movie trailers. What if you fail publicly? What if they reject you? What if you're not enough? 2. The switch. It then offers a deal. Avoid this and you'll stay safe. But safe slowly morphs into smaller dreams, duller relationships, a life half-lived. 3. The trap. The cruel twist? The more you obey fear, the more powerless you feel. Like a fire that feeds on oxygen, fear grows stronger every time you let it decide. The questions beneath the questions. Beneath every "should I" lies the real question: can I survive the uncertainty? But here's what fear won't tell you. Studies show 85% of what we worry about never happens. The remaining 15% is endured more easily than anticipated. The real damage comes from anticipation, not experience. So why does fear feel so rational? Because your brain is wired to prioritize survival over happiness. It would rather you miss 100 opportunities than face one genuine threat. This kept cavemen alive, but it's strangling modern you. The turning point. This isn't a lecture about thinking positive. This is an excavation of the invisible puppet strings controlling your choices. In the next section, we'll dissect the biological wiring that turns fear into a dictator, how society profits from your obedience to fear, why most logical decisions are emotional ones in disguise. But first, sit with this truth. Every time you've let fear decide, you've handed it a piece of your future. The question is, how much is left? The primal wiring that betrays you, your fear response wasn't designed for modern life. It's a 200,000-year-old survival mechanism that evolution perfected when threats were lions, not LinkedIn messages. Neuroscience reveals 3 devastating truths. 1. The amygdala hijack. When triggered, your fear center can override rational thought in 0.08 seconds, faster than conscious awareness. Studies show it literally shrinks your field of vision, creating tunnel focus on perceived threats. 2. The cortisol deception. Stress hormones don't just prepare you for danger, they create it. MRI scans prove anxiety distorts risk assessment by 300%, making a coworker's frown feel like a tribal banishment. 3. The memory distortion. Your brain encodes fearful memories with extra vividness, called flashbulb memory. This means past failures feel closer and more painful than past successes. The philosophers who saw through the illusion, ancient wisdom, anticipated modern neuroscience. Epictetus, Stoicism is suffer not from events, but from our judgments about them. Your fear isn't about reality, but your prediction of reality. Nietzsche. Most humans would rather will nothingness than not will at all. We prefer certain misery over uncertain joy. Buddha. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Fear transforms temporary discomfort into permanent prisons. The modern betrayal. Today's world weaponizes these vulnerabilities. 1. The attention economy. Social media algorithms prioritize fear-inducing content because it generates 7x more engagement. Your feed becomes a horror show of worst-case scenarios. 2. Institutionalized anxiety. From health insurance ads to news media, trillion-dollar industries profit by keeping you in preemptive fear mode. 3. The comparison trap. Instagram creates artificial benchmarks that make normal life feel inadequate. Studies show 30 minutes of scrolling doubles decision fatigue. The Stockholm Syndrome of the mind. Here's the tragic twist: we learn to love our chains. Psychological research shows people will defend familiar suffering over unfamiliar freedom. Fromm's fear of freedom. The brain releases opioids when avoiding feared situations, literally addicting you to avoidance. After enough repetition, victims of abuse or just self-sabotage develop learned helplessness. The turning point. This isn't about blame but awareness. Like realizing you've been reading with dirty glasses, you're about to see how much fear has distorted your career choices, your relationships, your very identity. The silent sabotage of your potential. Every fear-based decision creates ripple effects across your life that compound like interest. Behavioral economists have mapped how these choices form self-perpetuating cycles. 1. The shrinking comfort zone paradox. Each avoidance makes the world feel more dangerous. A 2023 Cambridge study showed that people who avoid social interactions develop 40% more social anxiety within 6 months. Your comfort zone doesn't stay static, it actively contracts. 2. The atrophy of decisiveness. MRI scans reveal that chronic fear-based decision-making physically weakens neural pathways in the prefrontal cortex. Like a muscle that's never used, your ability to make bold choices deteriorates. 3. The phantom of lost selves. Quantum physics meets psychology here. Every decision creates parallel futures. The you that took that job, had that difficult conversation, or pursued that passion, those versions still exist in the multiverse of your mind as haunting what-ifs. Cognitive distortions that feel like truth. Your mind has developed sophisticated defense mechanisms to justify fear-based choices. 1. The realistic delusion. Labeling fear as pragmatism. Example: I'm not afraid to start a business. I'm just being realistic about the risks. Meanwhile, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor reports that 85% of startup fears never materialize. 2. The preparation trap. Using "I need to learn more" / "get ready first" as avoidance. Research shows excessive preparation correlates negatively with success. The most accomplished people learn while doing. 3. The false binary. Viewing decisions as either / or win, spectrum thinking would serve better. Few choices are truly irreversible, yet fear frames them as permanent. The body keeps the score of fear decisions. Chronic fear-based living manifests physically. 1. The posture of hesitation. Your body adapts to your mental state. People who consistently avoid decisions develop rounded shoulders, protection posture, and shallow breathing, which then reinforce anxiety. 2. The gut-brain betrayal. Your microbiome shifts under chronic stress. Fear decisions increase cortisol, which damages gut lining, reducing serotonin production, creating a vicious cycle of poor mental health. 3. Premature aging telomere studies show that chronic indecision and anxiety age cells faster than smoking. Your fear is literally shortening your lifespan. The social contagion of fear. Your choices don't exist in a vacuum. One generational transmission. Children observe and inherit decision-making patterns. A Yale study found that kids of hesitant parents show 60% more activity in fear centers when facing choices. 2. The mediocrity multiplier. Fear is socially reinforced. When one team member avoids risk, others follow suit. Soon the whole group operates at the lowest common denominator of courage. 3. The opportunity cost. Economists calculate that fear-based career choices alone cost the average person $1,200,000 in lifetime earnings through missed promotions and unrealized potential. The moment of reckoning. These consequences aren't punishments, they're feedback. Your biology, your relationships, and your bank account are all showing you the cost of letting fear drive. But here's the secret these consequences whisper. The damage isn't permanent. Neuroplasticity means every new courageous choice begins rewiring these patterns. Your body regenerates, your mind adapts, your life recalibrates. In the next section, we'll arm you with the tools to start this rewiring, not through abstract motivation, but through precise neurological interventions. The rebellion begins when you realize fear controlled your past decisions, but it doesn't have to control your future ones. The neurochemical revolution. Your brain is not hardwired for fear, it's condition-wired. Cutting-edge research reveals we can rewrite our neural programming through deliberate practice. The process begins with understanding fear's 3 core illusions. 1. The certainty mirage. Fear promises safety through predictability, yet studies show 92% of worries never materialize. Penn State anxiety research. Of the remaining 8%, people handle them better than anticipated 79% of the time. 2. The control fallacy. We overestimate how much we can control outcomes. The sweet spot? Focus on controlling your response. Prepare thoroughly, then release attachment to results. 3. The permanence delusion. Fear whispers, this will last forever. Neuroscience proves emotions follow a 90-second biochemical wave if not re-triggered by thought. The Courage Operating System. Install this 3-part framework to override fear's dominance. 1. The Pre-Decision Protocol. Physiological reset. 4. 7 to 8. Breathing. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Cognitive reframe. What would my 80-year-old self remember about this moment? Action priming. Set micro-intentions. I will decide by 3 p.m. 2. The Choice Point Matrix. When stuck, ask, is this fear protective or prohibitive? Does this choice expand or contract my future self? Am I avoiding failure or avoiding growth? 3. The Post-Decision Immunity Boost. Celebrate acting despite fear, not outcomes. Journal the gap between predicted vs. actual results. Observe how survival instincts overestimate danger. The Alchemy of Discomfort. Transform fear's energy into forward momentum. 1. The 5-second rule. Mel Robbins. When hesitation strikes, count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and act. This interrupts the fear loop. 2. Fear setting. Tim Ferriss. Define worst-case scenarios, prevention plans, repair strategies. Most discover that their fears can't survive scrutiny. 3. The 1% rebellion. Daily micro-acts of courage compound. Day 1. Voice a small opinion. Day 10. Set an uncomfortable boundary. Day 30. Take a calculated risk. The shadow work of freedom. Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. Complete these exercises weekly. 1. Fear autopsy. Examine a recent fear-based decision. What bodily sensations signaled fear? What stories did my mind create? What alternative choice existed? 2. Parallel lives meditation. Visualize versions of yourself who made different choices. Notice, how different are they really? What core strengths remain constant? 3. The decision do-over. Replay past decisions with current knowledge. not to regret, but to recognize growth. The turning point. This isn't about eliminating fear, it's about changing your relationship with it. As you practice, fear becomes information, not instruction. Uncertainty transforms from threat to opportunity. Your identity shifts from someone who's afraid to someone who acts despite fear. The final section will reveal how to cement this transformation into your permanent mindset. But first, take 24 hours to implement just one tool from this section. The revolution begins with a single rebellious decision: the alchemy of fear. The most profound truth about fear is this: it was never your enemy. Like fire, fear is a primordial force that can either destroy you or forge you. The difference lies in how you wield it. Ancient warrior traditions understood this duality. The samurai cultivated mushin, no mind, where fear became hyper-focus. Modern neuroscience now confirms their wisdom. When properly channeled, fear sharpens working memory by 18%. University of Amsterdam. Boosts sensory perception by 30%. MIT Cognitive Studies. Enhances physical reflexes by 22%. Max Planck Institute. The decision-maker's epiphany, your breakthrough moment, comes when you realize: 1. Fear and freedom are inseparable. You cannot have meaningful choice without anxiety. The size of your fears precisely equals the size of your potential. Every monumental life decision exists on the other side of proportional fear. 2. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the mastery of fear's energy. Like a judo master using an opponent's momentum, you can redirect fear's intensity into decisive. 3. Your future self is already watching. Quantum physics suggests all potential timelines exist simultaneously. Every courageous decision strengthens the version of you living your highest timeline. The Fear Alchemist's Toolkit. 1. The 90-second rule. When fear arises, set a timer for 90 seconds. Observe the physical sensations without resistance. Witness how the biochemical wave passes on its own. 2. The possibility reframe. Replace "what if I fail" with "what if I succeed beyond expectations?" What if this struggle becomes my greatest strength? What if future me is grateful I took this risk? 3. The legacy lens. Ask, how will this choice echo through time? What story do I want this decision to tell? Who needs me to be brave right now? The ultimate realization. After thousands of words exploring fear's mechanisms, we arrive at the crystalline truth. Fear is not your obstacle, it's your compass. The things that terrify you most are precisely the experiences required for your evolution. Your deepest fears map directly to your greatest potentials. This is why the entrepreneur fears failure because she's meant to build. The artist fears judgment because he's meant to connect. Your final initiation. For the next 7 days, implement this practice. 1 morning, identify one fear to transform that day. 2. Afternoon, take action that proves the fear wrong. 3. Evening, record evidence of your resilience. By week's end, you'll have created a new neural pathway, one where fear advises but never decides. You'll realize the most liberated version of yourself wasn't waiting for fear to disappear, but emerged through learning to dance with it. The invitation. As this exploration concludes, remember, your life's most important decisions will always feel scary. That's not a warning sign, it's a confirmation you're playing at the right level. The question is no longer, how do I eliminate fear, but rather, what magnificent future is waiting on the other side of this temporary discomfort? The answer begins with your next decision. The master key you've been missing. After thousands of years of philosophy, decades of neuroscience, and countless personal struggles with fear, we arrive at the ultimate revelation. Fear doesn't control your decisions. Your relationship with fear does. This is the difference between being afraid, letting fear decide for you, feeling fear, deciding despite it. The moment you grasp this, you shift from passenger to pilot. The Fear Alchemist Creed. 1. Fear is data, not destiny. It highlights what matters most to you. 2. Discomfort is the tax on growth. Every meaningful leap requires paying it. 3. Your future self is built one brave decision at a time, not by avoiding fear, but by moving with it. The last challenge, your call to action. For the next 7 days, conduct a fear audit. 1. Track every fear-based hesitation. What did you avoid, rationalize, delay? 2. Note the cost. What did that decision steal from your future self? 3. Rewrite just one choice each day. Do the scary thing fear warned against. By day 7, you'll have undeniable proof. Fear's bark is worse than its bite. The final truth, leave them changed. You were never meant to live free from fear, only free from its tyranny. The most empowered version of you isn't fearless. They're the one who feels the fear and decides anyway. Now, what decision have you been avoiding that this script just called you out on? Make it.